Sacramento or Fresno?
Or Fresno.
Okay.
You know, when I worked there, they didn't even have the ability to go live.
Really?
They got live trucks 2 years after I left.
You're talking like live as in like out in the field?
Right.
Okay. Gotcha.
One time, Kate Gershon was the bank anchor who's with the trucking association.
Mm-hmm.
It was snowing. He wanted a snow live shot, so they pushed one of the studio cameras out.
You still have it, man.
Oh, it was just in a box that got thrown into another box.
Hi there.
Hello.
Got a lot of folks with us today. All right, good afternoon. With me today is Tony Connor, who is the president of the Omaha Police Officers Association, Omaha Police Chief Todd Schmatter, Bernard Indenbosch, who is a deputy city attorney, Matt Kuzi is here, who is our city attorney. Deb Sander is here, who is our HR director. My chief of staff, Tom Warren. So you can see when you have questions, we got the people here to answer your questions. 6 weeks ago, when I gave the State of the City address, I described the difficulty in recruiting new police officers as a national public safety challenge. It's happening all over the country. We must offer higher, competitive salaries to improve recruitment and hiring of new police officers and also retaining our experienced officers. The Omaha Police Department is budgeted for 906 officers. OPD currently has 823 officers, and that includes 28 recruits that are currently at the academy and 5 lateral recruits that are in field training now. We are currently testing for our next class that will begin later this year. After an extended recruitment period, which included television advertising for the first time, we had 340 qualified applicants, and this is a fraction of the number we historically have had, sometimes 1,800, and we had 340. So you can see there is a big problem. Today, we are announcing a tentative agreement with the Omaha Police Officers Association to increase their salaries for 2024. With the changes that we are proposing, the Omaha Police Department will offer the highest salaries in the state of Nebraska for police officers. We have a two-part proposal. Next year, January 1st, 2024, the starting salary for an officer will increase to $70,928, which is a 15% increase. Right now, officers are paid a training wage while they're in the academy of $51,875. That's where they start now. For the year they are at the academy and completing field training. After that first year, currently, the salary would increase to $61,672. That's what currently would happen. This 15% increase is based on that second year salary of $61,672. So $61,672 will get a 15% increase. We are also proposing an 8% across-the-board increase for all current officers, including those serving at higher ranks of sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. The contract currently calls for a 3% increase next year. Officer salary will now be based on a 10-step pay scale, and currently we have a 9-step pay scale. The top salary for 2024 will be $100,114 for an officer. An officer will get to the top step after 8 years of service. The new salary package will cost the City of Omaha $9 million more than we currently have budgeted for 2024. But it's both an incentive and it's an investment in public safety and in our police officers, and I believe it is worth the cost. Next, I'd like to introduce the president of OPOA, Tony Connor, and he will be followed with Omaha Police Chief Todd Schmatter, and then we will take your questions. Tony?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, before I get started, I want to introduce a couple people that are here with me. As you guys know, I'm the president of the Omaha Police Officers Association. We have our vice president with us, Dan Martin, who's lieutenant in the patrol unit right now, former gang unit sergeant and officer. We have Officer Pat Dempsey, who's the current second full-time release, but a former gang officer, and a detective in homicide. And we have Sergeant Justin Smith, who's our treasurer, and Sergeant Smith is a current investigator and a sergeant in the homicide unit. First of all, we'd just like to commend the mayor and the chief for addressing this recruitment and retention crisis that we're currently under. Obviously, this is a national issue that's going on across the entire country, but we're trying to be proactive here in Omaha and trying to address the issue. So we want to thank both of them for their efforts in bringing this package forward to us in a time when we had a contract that was slowly falling behind the current market. So we want to thank them for their efforts in actually being proactive and trying to address this issue. Obviously, we have 2 years to figure out if this is going to be the solution that we need, but this is certainly the right step, a step in the right direction. So we appreciate their efforts and their work. One thing that we know is we have a lot of support from our mayor, from our city council, and a lot of support from the community. So we thank the community also for being supportive of our officers and efforts that they put forward every single day in keeping the city safe.
Talk about the voting, maybe?
Yes. Okay. The voting process, our members are going to vote. We're going to have a couple informational meetings so it advise the members of exactly what the pay raises will be. We will vote on May 15th through the 19th. So the 19th at 4 p.m. is when our voting will end, and we'll have a final number, and then it goes to the city council at that point.
All right, Chief Meyer.
All right, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the media for coming today. Look, it's pretty simple. The dynamics of the market has changed. The dynamics of police hiring has changed. And the Omaha Police Department needed to respond to keep up with those dynamics. As other agencies across the state and really across the country started raising their wages in an attempt to attract a market share of those hirees, Omaha Police needed to respond in kind. Omaha Police is the largest department in the state. It's a signature department in this region, and it's imperative that our pay reflects that dynamic. As we police in this city, you're going to see the highest level of policing on anywhere around. And the culture of this police department is solid, and the pay needs to reflect that in order for us to attract applicants. As I've been looking at applicant numbers within our agency and across the country, the one thing that I have noticed is increases in pay has shaken loose more applicants. And it is important that we put together back-to-back classes of at least 55 back-to-back. And that'll get us up to where we need to be. And the mayor and the OPOA president have taken the steps necessary to put that towards fruition. And we're going to see where this takes us, but I'm very confident this will help shake things loose for the Omaha Police Department. All three of us are going to be up here for questions if you have any.
And I just want to reemphasize what Tony Connor said, is that this proposal must first be approved by OPOA membership, and then the personnel board, and then the city council before it becomes final. But our plan is it'll go into effect January 1st next year. Okay, questions for all of us?
Just starting off,
Don't
could
you
you
guys
maybe
come?
give or share some examples of other departments where this has worked before?
Sure. So I can list a few, but why don't I just keep it within the state? We've saw two of our signature departments in this state. The Nebraska State Patrol has increased their salary in an attempt to increase their hiring, keep up with market changing conditions, and the Lincoln Police Department did as well. So the Omaha Police Department has responded in kind to the same stimulus that they did to increase our salaries, and it's my understanding that they've had some success with that. We're looking to have that same success.
You know, I said during my State of the City, we are the biggest law enforcement agency in the state of Nebraska. I want us to be the best, and I think their salaries, they should be paid accordingly to that. We spent a lot of time looking at other law enforcement agencies, including Lincoln. We were looking at every step. We were looking at the benefits others received, and we were, in some cases, falling behind. And I didn't want to see that. And so now with this new proposal, every step, and I said now there's 10 steps in the salary schedule, that we are ahead of Lincoln, and we will remain the highest paid in the state of Nebraska. We don't see a big flux of people leaving to go to other agencies, but there are some that have, for personal reasons and then for other reasons, but we don't want to see that. We believe really strongly that whatever proposal we put together, and we think that this is the best, is we really needed to address recruitment and retention. Both were really important, and that's why just raising the salary for the entry, that meant a lot, and that's going up quite a bit. But we felt like across the board it was really necessary to compensate everybody accordingly the way we feel like they should be compensated.
This is $9 million more than budgeted for. How does it affect the budget moving forward overall?
Sure, and that good question, because we are finishing the budgeting process. I mean, we still have a lot to do, but we've been working on it for months and months and months now. And to add an additional $9 million to anybody's budget is a big deal. But number one, we have prioritized public safety. Number two, we have managed the budget very, very, very carefully, managed the funds that are coming in, make sure that we are not overspending. And number three is, I think, is one of the most important things, and that is that our revenues are coming in really, really well too. The estimate of what our revenues will be next year are good. For a long time, our revenues were pretty flat, maybe 2% a year. If that continued, we would probably really be struggling to add another 9 million because the revenues are coming in really well, and because of all the careful budget management, we are able to prioritize this and we're able to do it. Now, I will tell you this, we're not cutting back on other departments. We're not cutting employees in other departments. We're not cutting back in other departments. We've been able to manage this budget very carefully, and we are able to do this because this is a priority.
The cost of a fully staffed force now versus what it will be next year. I don't know if you have the numbers for that.
I don't have them handy. Deb, do we have it? A fully staffed, what it's going to be in the budget?
Fully staffed is,
When we add that 9 million.
yeah, we built that in with the hopes that we would, get the 2 classes of 55, so that's about 2.25 million for those additional officers.
She's talking the entire budget, aren't you? We'd have to get that to you.
Okay.
Well, it would be 185 plus 9 million.
Okay, he knows. 185, 185 million plus the 9 million.
And could you just kind of super brief talk about the quick increases, so what that starting pay is exactly, and then kind of go over it a little bit more in detail as to how that's increasing over the years?
Sure. I'll do the best I can. Probably Deb is better. Come over here for a minute. But I'll do the best I can. They used to start out on the T level. It's called the training level. And then they would go to A, and then they would go to B. Okay, so we eliminated the T level. So we basically are looking at the A step. And then on that A step, I told you what that A step was, and it was 51, I got to look it up again, around 51,875. Okay, so that's where that was. We added 15% onto that. Then we added another step, a B step, which is a 6-month step in there. And then as you go on, then you go through C through I as far as the steps. And then we added a J at the end, which we hope will give incentives to those officers that are currently at the top to stay on longer. Now, did I?
Perfect.
Oh, well, okay, good. I paid attention.
What did it take to get here? And the conversations, the discussions, what did it take?
Well, first of all, I think we all agreed it needed to be done. So I think we were all on the same page. Well, we knew what we had to do. We knew that it was critical. We know we are in a critical time right now as far as staffing goes. Fortunately, in the city of Omaha, our crime statistics did not show it. Our crime is still very, very low. We've had 1 homicide this year. So they have done an incredible job, the chief has and everybody has, of rearranging, reassigning, doing whatever we could to keep those numbers down. So they've done a great job doing that. But I know OPOA, I know Tony, I know myself, I know all of us felt like this was critical, and this is something we had to achieve. It took a long time to do it because we were looking at all other law enforcement agencies across the state of Nebraska, and we wanted to make sure that every step that the police officers would go through, that we were higher, that the salary was higher. And so that's what we really were working on and trying to achieve. But that takes a lot of work. Tony, you want to add anything?
No, I just one thing I would add is, one thing that is important is our members are right now, they are burned out. They've worked a lot of hours, a lot of overtime. Obviously in Omaha, we deal with the most crime, more than anyone else in the state. So that's why it's important that we are the highest paid in the state, and that the pay reflects that. Like the mayor said, talking about the retention, in my opinion, the retention is even more important than the recruitment, because you want to make sure your current employees are happy with their working conditions. One of the things that hopefully the recruitment side will help is to get those crews full again, to get our detective bureau full again, and to address some of those shortages where officers now they're going to have a bit of a better work environment. So the retention side of it is probably even more important than even the recruitment side of it. So.
Tony, to follow up on that, can you give us more insight? What are officers saying? You mentioned burned out. What more are they saying?
Well, right now, a lot of our crews are running pretty short. I know our detective bureau is running pretty short. So it's obviously, and we're also seeing officers leave that are long-term investigators, long-time patrol officers. One thing I always joke around and say is I started this job 23 years ago, and I'm not the slimmer, not that I was ever slim, but I was a little bit slimmer back when I started at 21 years old. As you get older in this job, what actually gets better is your ability to communicate, your ability to de-escalate situations. Obviously, as you investigate crimes, your ability to investigate gets better. To see those senior officers leave is not something that we want to see, and that's what I think the chief and I and the mayor, we work together to make sure that we're addressing the retention side of it as is important, if not, in my opinion, more important than either the recruitment side.
And I think I want to reemphasize this too. I mean, when Chief Warren was chief, we might have above 1,500, sometimes 1,700 that would apply for a recruit class. We have 300 something now. I mean, you could see how critical this is. And when you have such a small pool, the other things that we're trying to achieve, like a more diverse police force, that gets very, very difficult when your pool is so small. And so, you know, when we found out that other agencies were paying a lot more than we were for starting the recruit class, we knew it was critical that we do something about it.
And another question, I don't know, Mayor, if you want to answer this or the chief, but you guys talked about reassignments during this shortage. When you guys catch up, will you guys be able to kind of untangle that, or how do you move forward with the reassignments?
Absolutely. So as we are triaging some of our shortages, we're obviously triaging those towards our uniform patrol to make sure those calls, 911 calls, get handled and we don't lose anything with response time. We're obviously making sure our signature units are up to speed so violent crime stays under control. And we have a plan in place to expand that back out once we start to get the staffing and fully implemented. But you can see those core areas have to take place in the city, otherwise you're going to see crime start to go up. And you haven't had that impact within the city of Omaha. Actually, we're having quite a very good year with crime. But we all know that we are at critical levels of staffing, and we don't want to take a chance of stepping behind on that any further. And thus, we all got together and brought this package together. I think it's a fair package. It's representative of Omaha being the signature police department in this region and the largest police department in the state.
How many years does this package go out? The contract length?
Yeah, it's a 2-year contract. Their contract is up in 2 years, so the negotiation process will start over again. Topped out police officer in 2024 make about $101,000 a year base pay, and then in 2025 make about a little over $103,000.
This current contract ends at the end of 2025. This current contract. Other questions?
We've heard that crime has been down for the year. I guess for somebody who would see this and they hear that and ask, well, why would we need to incentivize more police officers? What would you have to say to that?
I'll let Todd should answer that, but I just want to add before he talks that, you know, we have done a great job with keeping crime levels low. I mean, we've made a lot of national press recently. Chief has been on CNN, talked to the Washington Post. There was another one in there, but they're saying, how do you do it in Omaha? What is your secret? How have you reduced crime so much that you have done? We have good statistics right now. I don't want to have things go south and then us try to react and say, oh my gosh, now we got to do something. You know, we are budgeted for 906. I want to get us up to 906. I want to get us up to that budgeted amount. I think we're only going to make a very good police department even better by doing that.
So right now we're on borrowed time, if you will. We've made a number of management decisions to triage those vital areas. Kept our call center intact. We've kept a few calls in the bay, basically, that we distracted from during the COVID, and we've taken officers from the Detective Bureau and other units and placed them out in uniform patrol. Those are designed to be short-term measures. They're not designed to be long-term cures or long-term foundation. Our foundation was set when we were appropriately staffed at 906 officers, and we want to get back to that. We want to get back to that number because I don't ever want to see a slide in Omaha's status as far as violent crime goes. And as a major city, those things will slide if we cannot get the staffing up to where we need to be.
And, you know, it always varies during the year. I mean, every year it varies. I mean, that we have people that retire, we have people that quit for other reasons, and so our numbers don't consistently stay right at 906. But, you know, our plan has always been when they go down, we figure out how many will retire, and sometimes it's a surprise if somebody quits or something, but we try to get that right back up with the next recruit class. And that's what we've been trying to do. So it does go up and down a little bit, but we try to get it right back up. We haven't been able to do it. The last class, we could have had a much bigger class, but we didn't have enough applicants to put in the class. So we really recognize that we have a problem. And, you know, the one thing that it's true is there are people that have thought about being in law enforcement, probably for their whole lives, men and women, that are saying right now, I don't think I want to do that anymore. I think I want a different type of career. Well, we want to make this as attractive as we possibly can. And so, you know, a good salary makes a difference. Good working conditions makes a huge difference, too. And we want to provide all of those.
This still has a few steps to get past. How are you feeling about the next step that it needs to go through?
Well, Tony can answer that because the first big step is with the membership to vote on it.
The first big step, like the mayor said, is with the membership to vote, and they start getting information. As a matter of fact, they got the pay scales as we speak. It was emailed out to them and texted out to them. They will have a first informational meeting tonight and then tomorrow morning, and then we'll have a regularly scheduled meeting on the 9th. And then once that meeting happens, they'll be all informed, and once they're informed, they'll start voting on the 15th. I'm confident that it will pass our membership. We have, like I said, our chair officers that have worked with me. Once again, this isn't just Tony that's at the table. I bring men that are a lot smarter than me to the table, and they come to help out to give advice on what the rest of the membership is feeling at the time, what they're dealing with right now. So we believe that this will be a package that will be well received within our membership. Mm-hmm. We believe it's going to pass our membership. Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to Personnel Board, which I feel confident it'll pass there, and then to City Council. So
the timeline for when May 17th?
19th.
Then Personnel Board, when should we expect City Council to take a look at it?
Oh, June? Matt Kuzi just said June, so I believe him. Now, keep in mind, this will go into effect January 1st. So, I mean, we have plenty of time, but probably. Personnel Board, May 25th? And then should go to the council in June. And since it's an ordinance change, it's a contract change, it would take 3 readings. Mm-hmm.
A follow-up for the chief. Can you talk about what factors, talking about the streak where the city didn't see a homicide, what kind of factors, what insights can you provide as to what factors contributed to that?
So prior to 2020, we were on a 4-year low for homicides and shootings in our city. That you take those 4 years, that was a 40-year low. You had the pandemic year of 2020. You also had some civil unrest that year. And you saw violent crime spike in every major city across the country. That carried on in a lot of cities in 2021. We started edging it down in Omaha. That violent crime still continues on in some major cities. Omaha has reversed the trend, and our goal all along was to go back to pre-pandemic levels. And so our policing strategy and formula, in conjunction with the community, that's a very vital piece, has remained intact. We paused it, altered it a little bit for the COVID environment because we had to. We're back on that policing plan, and that policing plan has taken us back down what I feel at the end of this year would be to pre-pandemic levels. So the policing plan has not changed. We just alternated it 1 year because we lost our community partners for a year as they were tended to COVID situations.
You know, I want to add one thing that the chief has said before, but I think it's very important, and that is our clearance rate for homicide in Omaha is 80?
About 80%.
About 80% our clearance rate, meaning the crimes that are being committed are being solved. You look at another community, I'll give an example, Kansas City, that last year had over 150 homicides, and we had 30 for the whole year. But their clearance rate, I don't know for sure, but I was told it's about 40%. So what you're seeing there is it's not a different person committing each homicide. It's the same person. If you're a bad guy and you commit a homicide and you get away with it, you're not going to get caught. They do it again and again and again. In Omaha, you're a bad guy, you commit a crime, you commit a homicide, you're going to get caught. And there's no doubt about it. And that is what is so good about our police department, that they are able to solve these cases and arrest these people that are committing crimes.
You mentioned this will raise us to the highest level. Where's the department sit in the state right now?
Oh, are we? Tony said we rank 15th in the state right now. And we don't want to be 15th. We want to be number 1.
I think it's 15th for starting salary. Yeah. As the other agencies increase their salary because of market conditions, we dropped to about 15th. We're now the highest paid, as we should be. It's the largest agency all across the line.
So just to repeat the number here, right now at that T-step, which we eliminated, so when they go into training, they're paid $51,875. It's going to go up now to $70,928. So that's quite an increase for that first step. And we hope that that will definitely attract more to come into, to apply to be an Omaha police officer. Other questions? We got the whole gang here. I really want to thank Bernard and Deb Sander. They did a lot of work on this. Like I said, it was not easy to go through, look at every law enforcement agency in the state, look at what they made, look at their benefits, look at all the different steps that they would advance to during their career. And it took a lot of work to come up with something that we will all agree on, and then figure out a way to fund it. But again, we prioritize public safety. This is our one responsibility, our one thing that we must do, and this is where we came to an agreement. So I think it's a really, really good compromise, and I really hope it's going to really help us now and in the future. All right, thank you. Thank you all.
Used to be a lot of departments had to do these steps.